Lyndon, if you don't mind, then I'm going to start with you here specifically, given your experience as an OEM across the continent and implementing and the deep knowledge from an AI perspective from one of the largest tech companies in the world. I won't joke around about your competitor at the moment, okay? But one of the large tech companies, which gives you a breadth from a sectoral perspective, from a country perspective as well. So what are some of the current trends and successes in AI adoption that you've seen both, let's call it South Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, or the broader African continent?
Well, thank you very much. I think, I guess it's safe to say that we've seen AI gradually being adopted in more and more sectors. Ultimately, you see AI being used to create efficiencies, right? I'll speak to the hype, Gen AI, which is the latest AI innovation on the block. And what you see is a tool that is coming into the market and disrupting the way things were done traditionally, not necessarily to cut out jobs. I want to be clear. Just because Gen AI can now generate a essay or some kind of creative output in seconds, as opposed to a person sitting at a desk scratching their head and typing and retyping and typing again, doesn't mean that that person is now obsolete. What it means is that this person's time and effort can now be optimized to potentially train that AI to come out with more optimal outputs. What it means is that this person no longer has to spend a day on 2 essays, but they can now potentially produce multiple streams of content in a given day. What this means is that if this person's catchment or if their focus market was to write for one publication, they can now work with this tool to create and disseminate content for multiple publications in multiple geos and so forth, right? Opportunity versus challenge. We're seeing this starting to happen in sectors such as, the creative spaces, the agencies, and so forth, where this is now being embedded in the way people work. Not as a challenge. I'm yet to find someone who's been fired, and if you have, I'm sorry about that, but I certainly do not see it that way, and in our experience, that is not what we're seeing. And the creative space is just one space. If we move to other sectors like financial services, we are starting to see the speed and the capacity with which they are able to process and analyze tons of information to create qualitative outcomes that inform trades in real time on the markets, credit vetting and other analysis that informs business strategy and logic behind how principled decisions are being made. It is becoming increasingly a bigger and bigger factor. However, when you speak about the geo impact, South Africa, undoubtedly from an African perspective, is ahead of the curve. We are getting more and more done with AI here. If you go to countries like Kenya, you start to see this happening a lot more. If you go to Nigeria, there's an increasing level of experimentation. And a few other places, Rwanda, that you can mention, are starting to embrace this significantly more. But in some of the other countries and in some of the other territories, there are still real challenges when it comes to accessing and harnessing the power of artificial intelligence. And these are multifaceted in nature. Some of them arise from different realities around regulatory frameworks, around simply access to the tools and the technology that makes this possible. For instance, we've got the one customer who had a whole team trying to run AI models on their laptops. Why? Because they did not have the technology that allows them to scale. Now at Amazon Web Services, we sell web services, cloud technology, that allows you to run this within the cloud without having to spin up your own server. In so doing, you can operate at almost any scale known to men. But if you are forced to try and run this on a laptop, you're only going to get so much done. In fact, these poor people could do nothing else on their laptops for up to 6 hours at a time because your capacity was maxed out. These are some of the realities and the challenges that we start to see as you go across the continent. And then, of course, we can speak about the regulatory realities. We can speak about access simply to data, right? Access to connectivity, quality of data, structured and unstructured data, and how that is being incorporated. And Monisha will then speak, of course, to the ethical realities behind what data we can use or can't use, what data we should use and shouldn't use, and why.